Okay guys, today on Mixing It Up with Gigi, I will be making ackee and saltfish, which is Jamaica's national dish. In this pot, I have 2 large pieces of salted cod, this size, and I'm boiling them because they're pretty salty. Even though I had them soaking for a while, they're still pretty salty. So the first step is to boil the cod, the salted cod, until it's no longer salty. So you boil it, then strain it off, and then run some cold water over it and let it sit for a minute, and then taste it. And once it's no longer salty, then it's time for you to go ahead and make your dish. So take a look right here. We have some fresh marjoram. I have some fresh thyme, fresh basil, and my little pepper, tomatoes rather, and then some more pepper. And this is callaloo. And I have been fighting a real battle with these callaloos, so I'm going to be cooking some callaloo and saltfish as well today. So I have a can of callaloo right here, but I'm going to mix this one from my farm. Everything right here on this counter is from my garden. So I feel so proud. I can be cooking and just go out and pick herbs from my garden, and tomatoes and peppers. So I'm going to enjoy that today. Okay guys, so in this pot here I have some cut up tomatoes, sweet onions, peppers from my garden, chopped basil, a little sprig of thyme, and a sprig of marjoram. And then I add a tablespoonful of coconut oil, and while that is melting, I'm going to cover it and let that go ahead and melt. And then I'm going to be adding the spinach from my garden. The one in the can is already cooked, so I'm going to add this one first and let this one cook. Then I'm going to add the one from the can in it, and then we're going to cook it up. Okay, so now I'm adding the callaloo from my garden in the pot, and I'm just going to use a spoon and spoon out a little bit of this water from the saltfish to steam this ackee, to steam this callaloo. Cover that. I'm going to put some seasoning in there. Not a lot, because I'm going to be putting a little piece of saltfish in there. So just some Mrs. Dashes. And it has all the onions and stuff in there already. So should be pretty good. It's not a lot, but it's from my garden, so I'm very proud to steam it in with the canned one. I wish I could get more fresh ones, but unfortunately, I can't. I'll be adding just a smidge. Remember, putting salted fish in there, so just a 1/4 teaspoonful of my favorite. Can you see that? My favorite seasoning. Just a little bit. It might not even be good for you, but you know what? That's my business. And already this is finished, and I'm going to go ahead because it's very young. It's steamed in a few minutes. Doesn't take long. Now I'm going to add the one from the can. And see the difference, guys? You see the difference in the can one from the fresh one? That is why it's important to eat fresh. It's not bad. I'm not knocking the can one, but the fresh one, nothing beats that. So I'm going to cover that and let it simmer for a little bit while I'm waiting on the salted fish. Again, this is the ackee in brine, so I'm going to cut it and drain it. Okay, this is what it looks like in the can, and bright yellow, and as it's in brine, I'm going to strain this off and let it drain for a minute. Okay, now I'm adding some black pepper, and it's pretty much done. And you add as much as you like. It's pretty much done. Just waiting for the fish that I'm going to incorporate in a few minutes. I'll turn the stove down. Do not want it to be overdone, and it's already from the can, so need some of the nutrients in there. Okay, so my fish has been boiling for about 20 minutes. I'm gonna turn it off, turn the stove off, and then I am going to strain it off and, you know, clean it up and pour some cold water in it to get the rest of the salt out. All right, so I'll just show you how I clean the fish. The water is now cold, and you can just pick it up and take the scale off of it. And these little things, the bones, the fins, take that off. And you want to take this part, you know, the part that's nice, and this part, you want to break that up in small pieces in a bowl. And it's going to look like so when you finish, like, you know, regular cod. Except the salting flavor it so it tastes a whole lot better. So I clean it up, get all that stuff off of it first, then kind of just break it up. And this piece is a little hot for me, so there it is. I'm just breaking it up. I should be using a fork, but this is what I have right now. And let's see if I'm all done. Oh, so little pieces left. Now it's all done. So this is what we have now, and I'll just go ahead and taste it to see how salty it is. And if it's too salty, I'll add some water and let it sit for a couple more minutes. Okay, and it is too salty, so I just added a little more water, a little water to it. And I'm just going to let it squeeze it out a couple times until I get the desired way. So here we go. So what I've done, I kind of just put it in a calendar and just let the water run over it a couple times. And now it's at my desired taste. Not too salty, but just right. Okay, so I have a fresh pot here that I'm going to prepare the ackee and the saltfish in. So I'm putting about a tablespoonful of coconut oil again, thyme, marjoram, and all this goodness from my garden, except for the onion, the tomatoes, the peppers, and the basil, and all of that is going in there. And that is going to go ahead. I'll cover that. Let it go ahead and sweat. Okay, my next step is adding the salted fish to all of that, onions and stuff. Reducing the heat. I'm gonna let it sit there for a minute so you can season the onions and all of that. Now I'm adding the ackee, and it's straight from the can to the pot. You drain it and it goes to the pot. It's already cooked, so all you need to do is mix it in with like so, and then I'm going to put some seasoning on it and let it sit there. Okay, my favorite Mrs. Dash's. I put a little garlic powder. It's fish is in it, so you do what you want. You put whatever seasoning you like, but typically people put black pepper and seasoned salt if the need arises. With this, I need to taste it first because the fish is salted, so you don't want to over salt it. So I'm going to let it sit. Make sure it's all stirred up. The heat is reduced. Then I'm going to let it sit there for a while. Maybe about 5 minutes or so, and then I'm going to go ahead and taste it. Here is the callaloo, all plated. So delicious. So I did not put any salted fish in the callaloo because the fish was not enough. So I just had enough for the ackee, but the callaloo is still delicious without the fish. Alright, so now I'm checking. And I'm just kind of going around turning it. You don't want to turn too much because I do not like mushy ackee. You strategically turn it. And as you can see, it's finished. I'm going to taste it to make sure all the seasons are okay. It's perfect, guys. It is perfect. Nothing is needed. Now I'm going to turn the stove off, and I'm going to leave it covered for another few minutes before I plate it. And that is it. There it is. Ackee and saltfish, Jamaica's national dish. You can eat this with whatever you choose. I'm going to show you what I'm going to eat it with. I have some guests coming over tomorrow. So I have these ancient grain naan minis. And I'm going to be having the ackee and the callaloo with some of this. I might make a few fried dumpling. Maybe. I'm not sure. Because everyone is health conscious. So I might leave that out and just go ahead and have this delicious mini naan with my ackee. And you can also have it over rice. You can pretty much serve it over produce when you cook like sweet potatoes. Or you can bake a sweet potato or bake a baked potato. You can eat it like that. So it can be served over just your preference. Whatever you want to do with it, it's delicious. And it's not scrambled eggs for all you Americans out there. It's ackee and it's delicious. Give it a try. I have 2 people coming to brunch. One, and they're both Americans, but one is from Grenadian descent and the other one is strictly American, and they requested ackee and saltfish. So this is what I'm preparing for them. Thank you for watching my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. God bless.